Good evening and welcome to Greater Somerville for January 8th, 2013. I'm Kyan Anderson. Tonight's topic, Somerville real estate. What's hot, what's not, and where you should be buying in 2013. Our guests tonight are no strangers to the red-hot market of Somerville. They're longtime Somerville residents as well as Somerville real estate agents, and they know probably more about the neighborhoods that we all live in than the actual residents themselves. They're here tonight to answer the questions for those of you at home in the housing market and what you want to know. Whether you're a buyer or a seller, I'm certain there'll be something on tonight's program that you will definitely take away. So please join me in welcoming, on their debut appearance here on Greater Somerville, Jonathan Mitchell and Thalia Tringo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Fantastic. We had a little technical, well, it's not difficulty. Thalia's running the computer, which is great. I'm over on the phone.
That's always dangerous.
I'm manning or womaning the phones, as we should say. Callers at home, if you do want to give us a call, please do so. Give us a little minute to just get into things. You can give us a call. You'll see the number on the bottom of the screen, 617-628-9876, if you have any questions regarding real estate. First, we're just going to do a little bit of background talk, just to find out about you guys, where you're from, what you're doing. Obviously very, very busy in Somerville with the Somerville real estate market as it is. Thalia, when did you come to Somerville? You've been a long-time resident.
1987.
Okay.
And I moved to Cambridge for several years, and then came back to Somerville. I've been in my current house for 11 years.
Okay. And you live near Davis Square?
I live in Davis
Lovely
Square,
house.
and my office is in Davis Square.
And now you started your own business, Thalia Tringo Real Estate, in 2011.
Yes. Yep. I was with larger companies for several years, and they were great. But I've always wanted to be my own small local business, and now I am.
Okay. And now you're situated on the bike path. It's a very unique location for those people who've never, if you pass by the bike path, I always see you working.
Yeah, it's
She's a
the
very
old
hard worker.
Carly fence site. So it used to be where people caught snakes along the old rail
Great.
trail, according
Hopefully
to the
not
neighbors.
anymore.
We hope not.
Okay. And so one of the things that I really love about Thalia's, well, your work ethic, you work very hard, and you know the real estate really, really well, is that you give $250 for every transaction that you do, you give to a local charity.
And my company matches it, so
Yeah.
it's $500 for every transaction.
So, I mean, that's fantastic. She also is on the board of directors for East Somerville Main Streets, as well as Somerville Homeless Coalition, a number of interesting background, Ward 6 Democratic Party Committee, and you're a glass bead maker and jewelry designer, which
Yes.
is interesting. I don't know how you find the time.
I don't, but it's something I do very late at night.
No, that's okay. I mean, we all have our hobbies, right? No, it's great. Jonathan, Somerville resident since 2001.
Correct.
Okay, currently you're living in Spring Hill.
I am indeed.
With a lovely lady, I hear. You recently got
Indeed.
married.
Yes, that was.
A newlywed.
My business was a little bit off this past year, just for.
I don't know why. I didn't have a fun time at that wedding at all.
No complaints whatsoever.
He's a friend of mine, obviously, I can say that. You're working at Coldwell Banker.
I
You've
am.
been there since 2005?
Think I've been there. Yes.
Okay.
I think.
That's what you
I think
told
I started in
me.
February of
That's what-
2005.
in our research
I'm terrible
yesterday.
with dates in my own history.
That's okay.
Well, now you have to remember your anniversary. That's going to be an
That-
important
Yes,
Yes, you
Laura,
know, we-
he'll remember the
Newlywed.
anniversary.
Absolutely.
I'll make him remember.
8/4/12. I'm pretty sure.
Okay,
I know
great.
it this year. At least it hasn't even been a
Well,
year.
it's on my, okay, anyway. So you also do industrial design, architectural designer, cabinet maker. You're a jack of all trades, and you're biking. You're an active bicyclist. So you fit in
All of
well
those
to
things.
the Somerville landscape in terms of a lot of people probably are looking into that. Well, maybe for property, what they want.
And other parts of my background, I did work at an architecture office for a while, which is partly where I worked as an industrial designer. Almost was a project manager, but not quite. I sort of came into architecture without truly an architecture degree, but got to do a lot of the things the architects got to do. It was fun.
So that leads into my next question,
Yeah.
because I always wonder how people kind of got to be where they are. I know these background stories, but for the viewers at home, they may not. Why did you get into the real estate market, both of you? I mean, what was it that really kind of drew you to it, number one? And number two, why Somerville? Like, what is it about Somerville in particular that's a unique area that you wanted to be involved with? Thalia?
Well, my family moved all the time when I was a kid, so I had actually moved 12 times by the time I went to college. So I'm kind of, so people who move around all the time as kids usually want to stay put as adults.
Yeah.
And I find, and vice versa. So Somerville is not where I grew up, but it's my adopted hometown. I have lived in a lot of different places, and I love the character of the city and the people who live here, and the fact that everyone's got an opinion and
strong opinions.
Yeah, whether or not you agree with it, the fact that the community is so engaged is really important to me, and it makes it a great place to live and be part of the community. So that's how I ended up in Somerville after living a lot of other places. And I got into real estate because I've always been fascinated by real estate, but my family is very public service oriented. So my mom was a teacher and my dad was a college professor, and my cousins are all like firefighters, teachers, nurses, cops. I mean, everybody kind of does something,
good.
Public, yeah. And I always felt guilty about liking real estate because it's always been a business that's kind of about, money. I mean, it's the way I had always thought of it. I didn't have a super high opinion of the industry, but it always attracted me. And I thought, why can't you do it in a service-oriented kind of way? Why can't you be, instead of just someone who's after a commission, why can't you be a coach and a house therapist and someone who educates the client and cares about them and puts their interest ahead of your own? And I try to do my business that way. I try to hire people who do their business that way, and I find it incredibly rewarding. It's more profitable than my other careers.
Really? Okay.
Which were in nonprofit.
Now, how about you, Jonathan? What was it that attracted you? Obviously, you have a love for design.
Yes.
Which I personally know about. But.
And absolutely. And we've talked about that before. But certainly it was, having worked strictly, more directly in the design field, one of the things that I missed there was a better balance for me of real strong interpersonal contact and working either directly with a customer or colleagues or clients. But I still really liked houses. So this sort of ends up being this nice kind of nexus of, working with houses
and getting to see.
in the world of things,
Yeah.
but also very much being people's ambassador to that world,
Yeah.
helping them interpret it, show them possibilities, but also there's a really strong piece where it's an incredibly stressful decision for people. So obviously they need good information, and they need to be working with someone they can trust, and they need someone who will listen to them and can reflect to them things perhaps from the first conversation where they said what they're really looking for, so that when they find the house that just happens to have the living room that's the right color, but the rest is wrong. That kind of stuff.
Well, I think
it's a simple version.
I think what's interesting about real estate, especially, obviously I'm an architect, so I have many opinions, but it's really about this, trying to convince people. People joke about it being, you're kind of sometimes a marriage counselor, and I don't want to get into that part because, that's another show altogether. But it really is. These people come in,
Our
and
spouses are not here, by the way.
This is good. This is intentional. But it's really about going in, wanting this home, having this dream. You walk in and, maybe the other person doesn't see it, or you guys really are visionaries in a way, because in some level they look to you obviously for your expertise, for your vision, because a lot of people don't have that skill set. And I think that, it's just wonderful to hear that people are out there to, you wanting to be a service to the client. And obviously, you need to make money, but at the same time, people, I did it, and I was very vulnerable, and I knew the industry, in terms of homes and what could be done and what couldn't be done, but I was a nervous wreck when I bought my home. So I commend you, because I couldn't deal with someone like me. I'm sure it was just...
Well, but the industry has changed. A lot of people know what real estate was even 10 years ago, but particularly 15, 20 years ago, before buyer agency.
Yeah.
Things were really very, very different. Now, when an agent works for a buyer, they're truly working for them, not just helping them out, but their responsibility is, for that buyer's best interest. And so there are a lot of agents who, and I know Thalia and I actually have somewhat similar styles in some ways, and I know that particularly we both, when we work with buyers, you're not looking towards a commission. You're not looking, simply to make sure someone buys a property, unless they tell you that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes, often the hardest part is really being really clear with people and being gentle about why a property doesn't work for them or might
Yeah.
not work for them, or something they'll outgrow in a year.
Yeah.
These are the things that, I mean, as much as we help people find their dreams, that often involves crushing a couple along the way. You know, the house that seems so wonderful that,
Yeah.
okay, it's
But
terrific,
things
but
are
look
always,
deeper, yeah.
I always find that, you know, I put so many offers in on homes and they all fell through and I was devastated. But in reality, things work out for a reason, you know.
They really seem to work out for the best. And I think, you know, I always compare it to, and I'm very romantic about housing, so, but I always compare it to, you know, finding a partner, because you know, you go out on a date with somebody and you have like a checklist, like, you know, they got to have these politics and these values and, you know, a decent job and a good sense of humor, and yeah, exactly, you've got the whole checklist, and you go out on a date with somebody and they meet everything on your checklist, right? And then you say, but it just, you don't feel the magic, you know what I mean? It's and you go out with somebody else and it's like, you know, he's short, I like tall guys. He has a weird job. He's, you know, but for some reason,
and you get married, and you buy the house.
Exactly, you fall for that person, and it's that way with houses too. And helping people, you know, as long as they're not making a mistake. I mean, we often see people who will come in and, you know, they don't have kids and they'll be looking at a 4-level townhouse, and you have to sit down with them and say, if you want that, that's great, but you have to come back with a friend of yours with a toddler and an infant.
Yeah.
And have the friend with the toddler and the infant describe to you what it's like to live on 4 levels, because a couple without kids will buy that house. Not realizing they're going to
have to think ahead.
It's not going to work. Yeah. So we try to educate people in that way, which is actually working against our commission.
Well, I mean, it is, and yeah, there are other agents who remain quiet and they let the person find out and have to sell in 2 years.
Yeah.
And then they help them sell it. If you can help the person avoid having to sell too quickly, that's always.
Well, in the end, that's going to come back to you, though, because if they feel that they made the right decision.
Well, it's kind of like dating again too. Like when your friend says, "Oh, this you know."
Yeah.
I just, you know, this person seems great to me.
You may look great, but, you know.
Right, and you.
6 months down the line.
Exactly. You try to prevent the divorce.
No, prevent the divorce. Don't buy the house.
And there's pragmatism here too.
Yes.
Because you like to sleep well at night.
Yeah.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah,
you have a
it's
conscience.
just one of those things.
I appreciate that.
And we work mostly on referrals and, you know, business from people we know. We did a good job for them. I mean, then you don't have to mail out, you know, 1 million tree-killing, you know, postcards to every house in Somerville. We don't want to do that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Somerville. I obviously am a fan of Somerville, and everybody knows that. But that
By the way, why isn't this called Greatest Somerville?
Greatest Somerville? Joe, we're going to switch that. We're going to switch it next year, 23rd. Happy New Year, everyone. I apologize. I was supposed to wish everyone a Happy New Year, and I totally got all, because my friends are on the set. Here's a question. Let's talk a little bit about Somerville neighborhoods and 2013, where you're seeing some trends, because I think that, you know, for those of you at home, obviously a lot of you at home know Somerville, but then there are some people that are watching or will be watching that may not know Somerville. So I have a little map, and we're going to switch over to the little map, just some neighborhoods, and maybe you guys could give me a little indication as to what you've been seeing in terms of trends in the upcoming year. What do you think, where people will be buying, and is it, you know, reflecting? We're going to switch over here for a second. Okay. And so this image is compliments of the City of Somerville website. They've done a summer vision planning, and so we grabbed it from them. But as you can see here, you've got the future green line indicated in the blue, the red line in the lower left, and it's got various neighborhoods, Spring Hill, and now Duck Village. That's new to me.
Yeah.
Do you know how that got the name?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so during Prohibition, there were speakeasies in that part of town.
Really?
And people used to duck in for a drink. And
That
so it was
is
known as
fantastic.
Duck Village, yeah.
It's a fantastic little neighborhood, and I mean,
Okay.
there's a house there that even has a few ducks in the yard.
Interessante.
And a sign that says Duck Village.
I love it.
Well worth driving by.
Yeah.
So what are we thinking in 2013? As you can see on this map, hopefully you at home can see, the yellow is on the right-hand side, Assembly Square above, and then Inner Belt below. Obviously, both heavily developed and future development sites. And, you know, what are your thoughts on, you know, obviously you can't be like buy here, buy there, because there are a lot of parameters in terms of a person wanting a home, but do you feel that it makes sense for people to, you know, look in one neighborhood over another? Like, what are your thoughts? Are people gravitating more towards Davis, or do you think that that's been kind of bought out in a way?
Well, Davis is still really popular. because it's near a T, and proximity to public transportation is always a major draw. That's not going to change.
Yeah.
But the prices are also very high. And one of the interesting things is, the market's been going up here for a while, and it's really gone up in the last year. So
this is something that's probably a surprise to a lot of people listening, honestly.
You're being sarcastic.
No, not at all.
Oh.
I think there's the more I talk to people in public.
No,
I mean,
they don't know.
We in the industry take it for granted that people have gotten the word out that home values have really come up and that the market's really strong right now, particularly for sellers. But the word isn't quite out there.
Okay, so those of you at home who are worried.
Or apologies if everyone knew it.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to insult the viewership, but I think it's important
so Davis is still standing. So what about Spring Hill? Like, what do you feel? Have people been going into East Somerville?
Yeah, they have. And in fact, I listed a property there, and there were multiple bids, and Jonathan's clients got it because he was such a great buyer agent for them. But what happens when the market starts to pick up in real estate, the first thing that happens is that your buyers start calling you and saying, I'm going to up my budget, and it's usually by $50,000. So that's an indication they can no longer get what they want in the price range that they had envisioned.
Yeah.
The second thing that happens is they expand the area in which they want to look. So when those two things happen, that's a pretty good indication that the market's gone up significantly.
And how long ago has that been happening?
In 2012, it was happening left and right.
Really?
I mean, I do half my business representing buyers and half representing sellers. And I don't have any buyer who didn't up their budget.
Really?
Every buyer.
Well, a lot of that is because the home loans that are out there that are at such incredible rates, right?
The rates are really low.
Afford more.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's partly it, and because they're down to 3.25 on a 30-year fixed, or maybe 3.375 today. So they're crazy low.
Yeah.
That's part of it. But it's also that people, for instance, if you're a young couple and you say, okay, well, we can spend $400,000 and we might get a 2-bedroom in Davis Square for that. The interest rates are really low. Do we want to get a 2-bedroom condo in Davis Square? Or do we want to look in, Spring Hill or Winter Hill or East Somerville and get a whole house and some land? Maybe in the same price range or for a little bit more, someplace where they can stay for years.
And you're starting to see that. So more people are venturing out of Davis Square
Absolutely.
as a result of the lower mortgage rates and things of that nature.
Well, and of a lack of inventory in general, where people otherwise who didn't know the area so well might just gravitate towards Davis Square because it's the only place they've heard of or know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And part of that is the public transportation aspect, for sure.
Right.
Yep.
But those people who, a few years back, were really wedded to their 10-minute walk to the T, those people are starting to talk about a 15-minute walk, a 20-minute walk, or they'll be happy taking a bus.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty stark change as well that I've seen.
And then I think you've seen this too, but another thing is that it used to be a few years ago, you'd sell a condo to a single person or a young couple in Somerville, and then 4 to 7 years later they turn around and they say, okay, now we're going to the suburbs. Like, I got married,
I
have a baby, and now I want a yard that's right outside. I want a bigger yard. I want whatever. So they go to Arlington, Belmont, Lexington, Winchester. Now we're seeing all these people who come in and say, we thought we were going out to the suburbs. We looked at the suburbs. And we came screaming back. Because, they're spoiled. They like not owning a car or owning only one car.
Yeah.
They like being able to walk to restaurants. And the same reason we live here.
It's not just that, it's the density itself. They like that they know so many other people and that their friends are 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
If you were the equivalent of 2 blocks away in terms of number of houses between you and the next house that's 2 blocks away in Winchester versus Somerville, just to pick a random town, when your zoning is such that you can only build on 1 house per acre, it's going to take you a lot longer to go find.
So you're finding more people wanting to stick around here.
Yeah, we're growing, and this is true in a lot of suburbs. If you look at Lexington and Winchester, you find people up and down size within the town.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that until recently in Somerville, where there's like a cohort group. There are all these young couples who have kids. Over the summer, Paul Bockelman, the school committee chair, did a public meeting at the last day of July, 40 people. Can you imagine, like a hot Tuesday night in July, 40 people came out to hear about the Somerville schools. Some of them had tiny infants with them. Some of them brought toddlers. Some of them had a sitter, but they all either had young kids or were about to have young kids and thought they were going to the suburbs, but wanted to check it out because they don't want to move.
Well, let's talk a little bit about inventory, because I do know that's a 2013 trend as well as in 2012.
Yeah.
Really it's just concerning for the people that are out there that want to buy, because there's really not much out there. We have another graphic provided by Jonathan here that we're going to switch over to just show you a little bit about what the real estate is looking like. And this here is the inventory levels. Jonathan, you wanted to describe a little?
I'll just describe this really quickly. So what this graph is, and it's something I put together very quickly, it's truly a summary looking back. I did this on the 7th of January, and so it's basically the snapshot of the market. How many houses were on the market January 7th, starting with 2007, then going 2008, 2009, 2010, all the way up to January 7th of 2013. Amazing that we're actually in 2013, but we are.
Yeah.
So
it's just gone down. And now the top line is for condos.
Top line is, yes.
Condos.
And so basically this reflects overall the housing stock. We have more condos than we have multifamilies.
Multifamily is the
single families.
Yep, and just because people at home might not have color, or maybe they can't see it, but
absolutely.
The one in the middle is the multifamily line, and then the one down below is a single family line.
And interestingly,
wow,
because of the way the graph is set up, and just the nature of putting all of these, the single, multifamily, and condo, all in the same graph, it actually makes it look like the single family inventory hasn't changed that much. But when you look at where the numbers are, it really is a pretty similar decline in terms of just purely what's available. And this is really, if anything, this underplays where the inventory is now, and that's because of another trend which is a bit more technical in terms of how things are listed on MLS.
Okay.
But if anything, we have less inventory than it looks like on this chart.
So here's a question, and I'm going to switch us back to camera because that's a really great slide and very helpful for people to realize what's going on. The question that I have is then, okay, so you have very limited inventory. For those people at home that are looking to buy, what are the recommendations? Or sell? I mean, what are some tips or things that you can give to them that say, don't be scared by that graph that just goes like this. I mean, there are things that are going to be out there. Or, like Thalia said, be more open to going to different neighborhoods if you really want to stay in the Somerville area. Like, what are some things that you can give them, points of advice?
Well, I mean, one thing is when you do, work with a good buyer agent. I think that helps, who really knows the area. Definitely, wherever you're working, make sure that your agent is someone who knows the inventory in that area. So when there's a really good value, they know it. They've seen 30 other, condos or singles or multis.
And they can tell you when you have to see something now versus wait a week.
Right.
Which isn't the case.
But are you seeing a lot more of the buy it now thing? Because I have some friends that are looking, and I remember when I was looking back in 2003, even then, I mean, I had my checkbook. It was like, okay. And so I'm curious, are those days back?
I think they are, and there are a lot of sales that are higher prices now than they were at the height of the market. Like things that sold at the height of the market have resold, and they're more. So the height of the market's like late 2005.
Yeah.
And this is sort of the funny thing is that for the very first time, I realized we keep talking about the height of the market. Yeah. We may be at a new one.
Yeah, exactly.
So no one's quite.
That's
in some
That's
segments,
good to know.
in some segments, perhaps. I mean, it all depends on what property and where. And again, a good local agent, just like a good local buyer's agent, is going to be incredibly helpful. A good local sales agent is going to be really.
And a lot of that, again, going back to Thalia's stuff, it's kind of like dating. I mean, you have to have a good, obviously you want a good person that knows the areas, but I think a lot of that is styles and things. And some people are a little more intense, others are a little bit more laid back. I think that's important before you settle on a buyer's agent. But you definitely, I think you have to, don't you have to sign an agreement? How does that work?
Everybody does work differently.
So it's different
you will find,
okay.
I mean, I certainly believe that you're going to get the best service when you do commit to working with one agent. You don't necessarily have to say, I'm going to work with you for life. There are a good number of buyer agents who do work with a buyer agency agreement. There are even some who take effectively a deposit to say, this is relatively uncommon, but they're out there. In general, you probably will have to make some sort of commitment, whether verbal or otherwise. And the thing is, and the important thing to realize is that that's fine, but remember that you have your choice. You don't just have to commit to the first person you see, or because someone sent you an email and did a little bit of work for you. There's no commitment until there really is a commitment. And
Yeah.
don't be pressured by any agent to, that you should work with them.
Yeah,
You're not feeling
any
it, you're not feeling
pressure
it.
at all is
Yeah.
a bad sign.
Yeah.
I mean, people say real estate is a sales business. To me, it's house therapy. It's a coaching and education business.
Expensive therapy.
Very expensive
therapy, nonetheless.
But you don't really see the money go out.
Yeah, there's no couch.
Not every
No
week.
couch for everybody home. But anyway, so what about for the sellers? I mean, I'm sure there are people at home that might be sitting on property that, thinking, well, gosh, I could sell. I mean, they have a stronghold, right? Because there's not a lot of inventory. So, I mean, you recommend people selling now because it really they'd be in a good position to do so?
If they want to move.
This is true.
That's the crucial thing.
Get 'em out.
We don't want anyone to move.
No, I'm just
we don't want
kidding.
anyone to leave Somerville. But yes, as agents in a market where
Yeah.
there's no inventory, it would be great if they hired a terrific agent,
Mm-hmm.
but we want it on the market, period. We'd like to see it out there so that, buyers that we represent or that our colleagues represent can, have things to look
Yeah.
at, have things to buy.
Yeah, but I mean, this is one of the reasons that the inventory, there's a shortage, is that I know for me, and we were talking about this the other day, I have sellers who want to sell, and they have a property that will be snapped up quickly. But they can't put it on the market because they can't find anything to buy.
Oh, I can
So it's
see
a
that.
catch
That's a problem.
22.
Yeah.
So most of the properties that I listed in the last year were either people who could have afforded to buy something before they listed their property, which is not most people,
Yeah.
or they were moving out of the area, like moving to California or
And they had to
another
get it.
country, and they
Okay.
had to sell.
Yeah.
And that's pretty common, but there are all these people who want to list things, but they can't find anything
So
to
nobody's
buy.
leaving. Everybody's sticking
Right.
around Somerville, which doesn't surprise me. A couple of questions that I have. Are you noticing any trends in, say, like people really looking for energy efficiency homes? Or, obviously there's a big push for bicyclists, a lot of sharrows, all these different
Yeah.
bike lanes, hubway, all that. Are there any changes in that you've been noticing that people have been asking for?
I think every year people do pay more and more attention to efficiency. There's no
To
question.
energy efficiency.
And
Okay.
every year I have more clients who start to ask the questions, not just how old is the roof and how old is the boiler, but what kind of insulation's in the walls. These are questions where you can't always see, and so you need
Yeah.
help from the
Okay.
seller. And people definitely do care about that stuff.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I hate to go back to this, but the overwhelming thing is that people are looking for a house.
Yeah.
And when you're in a situation where there is this little inventory, then some of these other concerns,
Fall
people
away
look
a
at what they
little
can
bit.
change and what they can't change. And efficiency is something that people can potentially upgrade over time.
Yep.
Location and proximity to good transportation, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's good bicycle infrastructure, simply a good route to work by foot or by
Yeah.
car, by bus, by train, whatever it is, that stuff is always important.
Sounds. So we're wrapping up here. We got a couple more minutes. I've got a couple events coming up here. But closing thoughts. Most rewarding aspect of your profession, Thalia. What gets you up every day? Or do you go to bed because she's always working?
I think it's like a giant game of concentration, where you're just like flipping over houses and trying to match them
Yep.
with buyers on the buyer side. And on the listing side, it's, trying to just aggressively market to the potential buyers. It's the challenge. I'm very project oriented, and I just love, you get in there and you try to do the best for your client. And it's a really rewarding thing when it's done because a house is something that affects your life every day. It's your haven.
Yeah.
I feel like I really did a great thing for my client. If I'm representing the seller, I got them what they wanted, whether that was a great price and a late closing date, or passing it on to another family with children, or whatever they wanted. And with the buyer, finding them a home that they're going to stay in and be happy in for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes me feel great.
Jonathan?
Not so different, but for me, the thing that's really so terrific are the people. I
Yeah.
get to meet such a broad variety of people and get to know them very well, and it's really kind of an honor to be part of this huge decision in their lives.
Well, that was what a wonderful way to wrap the show up. A couple upcoming events here. For those of you who don't know, the Winter's Farmers Market is always going on at the Armory, 9:30 to 2 this Saturday. And there actually is a Friends of the Community Path monthly meeting. This is Thursday, January 10th at 7 o'clock at the V&A on Lowell Street. And then finally, there is a Monday, January 14th at 7 o'clock, Prepping Your House for Sale. at Thalia Tringo Real Estate at 128 Willow Avenue in Somerville. So those of you people who are sitting on your homes and want to get out of Somerville, go to Thalia's class next Monday. I'd like to thank our guests Thalia Tringo and Jonathan Mitchell for coming into Greater Somerville tonight and talking to us a little bit about the red-hot Somerville real estate market, an ever-changing climate that appears to be on the rise in 2013, which is definitely a good thing for all of us. That does it for us tonight here at Greater Somerville. I'd like to thank the guests at home for watching, and as always, stay safe and stay informed. Good night, everyone.